Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining this session about leveraging AI so that you can tailor communications for students and parents. I'm Allison, Assistant Vice President for Enrollment and Marketing at Siena College. You may know me as host of the Application Podcast and publisher of the Higher Ed Marketers Digest. If you're not familiar with the latter, go to AllisonTurcio.com right now, and you'll join over 2,300 other higher ed marketers who are getting the best thought leadership from across our industry in their inbox every other week. Recently, there's this trend that's been going around on LinkedIn where you ask ChatGPT from all of our interactions, what's one thing you can tell me about myself that I may not know about myself? So I went and I put this into ChatGPT. I was really curious what it would say to me. And its answer to me was that I have an ability to balance strategic, data-driven decisions with empathy and human-centered leadership. And I have to think that this is because of how I use generative AI. I don't ever use it as a replacement for human-produced work or human connection. I always use it as an enhancement to that work and as an efficiency driver to help make that work better and more efficient. And if you look up on YouTube results for AI personalized communications, you're going to find things like, I wrote 1,000 personalized emails in 10 minutes, and I let AI write and reply to all of my emails. This presentation is definitely not that. Because at Siena, we're all about building real, authentic one-to-one relationships with prospective students and their families. We wouldn't be living up to our Franciscan mission, which is all about being in relationship with one another. We wouldn't be fulfilling our brand promise if that's what we were doing. We need to be focused on those authentic relationships. So using AI to just send out 1,000 emails and make it somewhat personal, but really like a cold call, but maybe a step above a cold call, that's not what we're trying to do. What we're really trying to do is get to one-on-one, I like to say personal communication. It's actually better than personalized because to me, personalized is a mail merge, right? There's so many ways to do it. You just insert a name or insert the major, but we're really trying to make communications that can only have been sent to that particular student and that particular parent. And it works. We track all of our one-to-one outreach, and it yields about the same as a campus tour. And our campus is pretty. You can see right here. So a campus tour is a high bar, and the one-to-one personal communications, they are at that level. But our problem is scale. There's so many people that we want to touch, so many students that we want to talk to on that personal level, but there's only so many admissions and financial aid counselors. The ratios of students and families to admissions and financial aid counselors, they're just not in our favor. That's what AI is helping us to solve. Last admission cycle, we implemented some of the things I'm going to talk about today, and it actually helped us to reach about 15% more students in a super personalized way. And that was at a time we were actually down an admissions counselor for a good period of time during yield season. So how did we do this? That's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to show you 4 ways that we're using generative AI to tailor our communications to students and families. I'm going to show you how a robust custom GPT that we built for reviewing emails helps us speed that work up. We're going to talk about one-to-one emails, how we're having AI help us create one-to-one personal emails through a financial aid example. Now, one thing that we try to do at Siena, as I was just saying, was write things that are so personal to the student, it's obvious it could only be sent to them. So once we've done that, can we put it into other formats? Can we take an email and make it a text message? I'll show you how generative AI can help us turn one form of content into another form of content. And finally, I've got a video example for you. But first, I have 2 rules of engagement. First one is never use AI to write original content. I have found that the best way to use generative AI and still be human and still be authentic and not sound robotic is to write a communication yourself first and then use AI to add in information that's personal to the particular student or family. Or you can use AI to assess what you've written. And I'll be sharing examples of both of those scenarios in a bit. And then never just copy and paste from AI, okay? We're not gonna do that. When you're using generative AI to help you personalize communications, you absolutely must edit, proofread, and contextualize. Does what you're about to send make sense for that student? So, did they actually do that really cool project in a psychology class that's being mentioned in the content? Because AI is not perfect and it can insert information that isn't relevant or accurate, or maybe it saw it somewhere else in a prior prompt and it's inserting it here. I've seen it happen. And it would be really bad to send that message to a student when what they had actually done and what you actually want to know is a climate change community service project. So you've got to understand the risks here and use practices that mitigate them, but still allow you to leverage the efficiencies that come along with using generative AI. All right, are we ready to dive in? Let's do it. First, I wanted to start with a more general efficiency gain around reviewing emails. Because one way we need to look at generative AI is not just how it can help us create personalized communications, but how can we use it to help us free up our time to actually just be more personal and build relationships with students. So I've built a custom GPT that I call Email Copywriter, and it helps review and edit emails for Siena's audiences. And now the key here is how I went about building this custom GPT. I gave it all kinds of detail and information so that it would really have my perspective and Siena's perspective and best practices for email marketing all built in to how it reviews emails. So for instance, I'm very clear that I want the GPT to ensure that there's clarity and purpose every time that we're making content. It is told information about tone and style that we want to make sure that it's proofreading for accuracy. And really, really important, I've been clear on the outcome, what my expectation is from the use of this GPT, which is that the email should effectively capture the student's attention and make them feel valued and understood and motivate them to take the next step in their journey. I've provided, as you can see here, files that help enhance the data that GPT can use in its review. I've provided it with personas that we've built for Siena's audiences, our brand pillars, and even notes on email design and formatting. I've got to give a shout out to my friends Day and Ashley. This amazing book, if you have not yet gotten your copy of Mailed It, please do. I was able to take all kinds of my own notes, what I felt was most important for my work as an email marketer from that book, and I actually made a document that ChatGPT can use. So from that, ChatGPT knows that we want to get to a subject line that's using 6 to 9 words that summarize the email's content, how it should leverage the pre-header, that it should be using an F pattern for content reading and clarity. So again, we have information on Siena, tone, voice, brand messages that we want to get across. We've got email best practices. We have all of this baked into the GPT so that we can get the best possible use from this. So I'm going to show you how it works. I'm going to take an email that someone in my team has written. It's an application invitation. And I know we all need those, right? All of us need students to apply. So I thought it would be a good example. I'm going to tell it the subject line, the pre-header. I'm going to copy and paste the body, and you'll see that the email checker provided me with some really great feedback that I can consider in the edits that we will make moving forward. It talks about strengths of the email as well as opportunities for improvement. And you'll see in a moment that it also provides a rewrite. I particularly like the point about being more conversational and relatable because that is a better fit for our brand and our voice. And I have to consider each of these suggestions. So even though it's telling me to be more conversational and relatable, why do I keep saying and trying to combine those two words into one thing? Conversationable. I don't know what I'm doing, but what I do know is I have to evaluate that suggestion. I have to go back to the original email and really consider if the change recommended is more on point with the voice or tone that we're trying to convey or not. I never just take GPT's word for it, okay? It needs to know from me, it needs that human evaluation into the suggestion. But one thing I'll say is that ChatGPT is pretty consistently good at simplifying text, which can be hard for us writers. It's hard to let go of words that we've written. The key here, though, is that this is all still your original thought. That's the base. The base is someone on my team's original work. But you've got a tool to help you make it more concise and make it more readable and make it more consumable. Let's move on to my second example, which is specific to financial aid. We took an email template that we wrote and then had ChatGPT help us personalize it. This is something that could be applied, honestly, to my first example. My first example could be taken a step further, right? That general apply email, and we could take information that we know about that student or family and get that inserted into the apply email that we reviewed. But here's the backstory of why I'm using financial aid. We get many students, as I'm sure many of you who work at higher ed institutions, who are asking for additional financial aid after they receive their financial aid package. Especially because if you think about the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, and the information it asks, it doesn't tell a family's entire story. So we have all these requests coming in, but we have just 3 financial aid counselors. All right. So this is a tough thing and this is all happening in a really condensed time period when people are trying to make those final college decisions. And at the same time, our financial aid counselors are also helping all the prospective families, not just the ones who are asking for additional money, but they're helping with things like submitting the FAFSA, understanding their financial aid package. And then we can't forget that current students still need them too. So this gift is what I imagine it must feel like to work in financial aid, especially last year with the FAFSA disaster. Financial aid counselors are my heroes, just saying. So it's understandable that when we answered these requests in the past, we had to automate it. If we were able to provide additional funds, the students and parents got a form email with the amount merged in. That's technically personalized, by the way. That's why I like the word personal versus personalized. Same thing if we weren't able to provide additional funds. We would trigger a very nice but generic no. But the thing is, when these families are requesting financial aid, they're telling us things that are really personal, that someone just lost a job or got diagnosed with cancer and was paying off medical debt, or one of the parents is working on finishing their degree right now. So we're answering super personal communication that came to us with something generic back. By necessity, yes, absolutely. But it wasn't the way it should be ideally. Enter ChatGPT to help. So like the email checker, I developed a financial aid counselor GPT, a custom GPT. In this case, I've written a template, a draft of an email that GPT can take and then personalize to a specific family. I'm going to tell it the student's name. I'm going to tell it additional financial aid that we're able to provide. In this case, let's say we're going to say it's a $2,000 Siena grant. And then I want to think about what did the family tell me? And usually in our case, something's been submitted on a request form. So I'm going to tell it that the family told us that mom is a breast cancer survivor and that there's still issues around medical expenses from her battle with breast cancer. So let's see what it does. And there you have it. You can see that it's giving me subject line options. Again, I really like being able to use options when it comes to generative AI, so I can pick the right thing for the right circumstance and send this personally to Sarah and her family. And then I'm getting a sample email that I can take and look at and edit. We're making sure that they understand the amount that their financial aid package has been increased by, it's key. That's what we were always doing. But now we're able to acknowledge what happened with their family. And we're able to say something about the mother's strengths. So this feels so much more human than what we were doing before, yet we used artificial intelligence to make it happen. So I've just shown you how you can build a custom GPT to help you personalize a communication. Now let's take it a step further. Maybe we've got an email written, or we already sent an email, but we also want to text a student with a particular message that's really tailored to them. This is another thing that ChatGPT is very helpful with. You can take an original message written by you or a member of your team and then get a tailored text message. The prompt I like to use is take the following email I've written to a student and condense it into a text message that's up to 160 characters long. That's key, right? We're trying to just use one credit. If you're a Slate user, or if you're an Element 451 user, whatever CRM you're using or whatever system that you're using to send text messages, we're often working in limitations on characters and the credits that we have. So keep the message intact. That's really important, right? We're trying to still convey the same message and make it engaging for the student. And now we're going to insert our email. Let's try this out. This is the type of message when I say how personal we are when we do one-to-one messages to students as we read their application. You can see this example here. And what we get back is pretty good. Although I don't love the awaits at the end. It doesn't feel like how I would say it in a conversation, right? So it doesn't feel or sound as human. So let's see if we can improve it. Yes, I like that. I'll have a sweatshirt waiting for you. On to my last example, and it's not email. It's actually video. We worked with a couple of different partners on AI video, including Maverick and Allied Pixel, and with great outcomes. You can see what one of the formats here looks like. It looks like a message received right from our director of admissions, followed by
Olivia. Congratulations on your acceptance to Siena. This is such an exciting time for you. All of us at Siena are so proud of you and your hard work. That's why we are celebrating you and your future classmates on December 2nd. Come get an insider experience and see why our Saints call Siena their home away from home. We hope to see you on campus then.
I'll admit it's a little funky. You might have noticed the name at the beginning, but students love it. Honestly, I think they might even know it's AI, that Katie didn't sit there and say every single person's name, but they still love it. I think it's like when you go to a gift shop and you can't help but check and see if your name is available on the personalized magnets or keychains or the little license plate or whatever else that they're selling with people's names on it. And another thing that we've done is used AI to produce personalized images, or like an image that has their name in it that then can be embedded into communication as well. I want to leave you with what I'm thinking about next. Because honestly, we've just gotten started with how we leverage AI to help us personalize and scale our communications, and for the ultimate goal, build better relationships. The first thing that comes to mind is using ChatGPT to help us segment audiences for more targeted messaging. So if we want to use ChatGPT to create personalized communication templates tailored to different audience segments. So for example, create distinct messages for prospective students interested in different majors, students at various stages of the enrollment process, or families with specific concerns, like maybe career is top of mind or affordability. So I want to explore how to best use ChatGPT to help generate messaging that resonates with the unique priorities of each group without stumbling over myself, right? Without having double emails, because we don't want families getting the career outcomes and the affordability version, right? So you have to have the data structure combined with the effort from ChatGPT to make this work. So again, all of this would start with an original template written by a human being, probably me, on the team, and then use my email review GPT, for instance, And then after that, after I get the email in the shape I want, ask it to take that email and make multiple versions for each audience segment that I've named. The second thing is writing a series of emails. All of my examples were really about creating one message to one student or one family. But what if we were using generative AI to help us build a series customized to that particular student? Then we can set them up to go a week or more apart, whatever the right timing is. And this would let us increase not just scale in terms of number of students, but scale in terms of number of personalized communications per student. The key is you have to have that really great tracking data so that the email doesn't trigger if the student just replied to one of the admissions counselors on that day, right? So again, both of these ideas need really strong coding. We call it at Siena, we call it coding. We code all of our interactions with the student, but we have to have really strong, up-to-date, real-time data on what is happening with an individual student so that our effort to actually feel more personal and more authentic doesn't get screwed up because we have crossed over ourselves. If a student just answered a question about themselves, for instance, to the director of admissions, and then we trigger an email asking them, hey, what's important to you? And why do you want to be a biology major? They just talk to us and it feels icky. It's not personal anymore, right? So there's this combination of data and content that has to be in sync to make these two ideas in particular work. I talked a lot, I hope not too much, about custom GPTs today. And I just wanted to say, if you're not sure where to start in building one, I went through some examples of what I include in a custom GPT to make it work as best as it possibly can. But Mallory has a great lightning talk on this, and it's available on Enrollify's website. So it's a great starting place to implement some of the tactics and strategies that I went through today. Thank you so much for joining this presentation. It was honestly a lot of fun to look back on how we've been using AI to personalize our communications. It was even great to have that check-in and go back into the custom GPTs I've built and remind myself of how I built those, what is in that foundation in each of the custom GPTs. But I'd really, really love to hear how you're doing this kind of work at your institution. How are you leveraging generative AI to do personal communications? So please shoot me an email or find me on LinkedIn, or let's get on the chat, because this needs to be a team effort. We can really make a difference in all of our communications by leveraging generative AI to make more personalized communications to students and families. We all know we've got a perception issue happening in higher ed, and we can help. We can help by being better communicators, and there's technology available to help us do that. Thanks for coming, and we'll talk soon.